Dad, come on, hurry. This thing's about to start.
Okay, hold on, I'm almost ready.
Alright, get off the toilet already. Pick it up. Come on.
I'm coming, hold on.
Yep, times are hard, but
Oh,
what
Yee!
Well, welcome to Slick's DoubleCross.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Vicious, Remo Vinci, coming back with a whole new show again. And this time, I got some company with me. I got my son, Vinci Jr., a.k.a. Slick. Tell him what it is, son.
Hello.
We're here to do something really cool for y'all. For those of you that are fans of the Dro Bro Show, you already know that your boy is a third-generation wrestling fan, which makes my son...
Fourth generation.
So we're going to show you guys some cool stuff today. I'm always trying to teach these guys cool stuff about music history or wrestling history or whatever. And anytime we watch a match or some stuff like that, I'm always like, and this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And it drives them kind of crazy sometimes. But we thought it'd be a cool idea if we did a show where we were doing stuff like that, where I could show them some cool stuff. They could ask about it. We could talk about it. And y'all could watch us peep it out. So this is what we're going to do. So today for our first episode, we decided that we would start off doing Royal Rumbles. Because, you know, that's a lot easier that way, right? Get through more people and we could talk about some more stuff and I could get him caught up on what's cracking. You know what I mean? So today, we picked them at random. We're gonna put all the rumbles in a hat, and we're just gonna start pulling out years. But we started off with just a random number, and we picked 3. So that's Royal Rumble 1990 for those of you that are gonna be following along and watching with us. And we got it all set up. We're ready to go. We got our peacock ready to bust it out for us. And we are at 1 hour and 37 minutes and 48 seconds. It's about to be 1 hour and 38 minutes. So if you're following along with us, get ready to press play and follow along with us, and we can peep it out and we can talk some wrestling. What you think? You with it? I'm with it. You with it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we with it. All right, Junior. Why don't you let them know when? Give us a little countdown so they can press play with us.
Are you guys ready? In 3, 2, 1, press play.
All right. So we're starting off here with this old school WWF logos.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's WWE nowadays, so they got the F out. And that's something they did in the Attitude Era. They had these shirts that said get the F out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of talking stuff to Bret Hart. But we'll get there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Fink. Howard Finkel. He was the coolest freaking announcer, man. Like, this dude always had, and new! Like, he had this cool way of saying it where anytime there was, like, a new champion or like, a title changing hands or the Royal Rumble winner or whatever, like, he just made it sound larger than life. He was, like, the first really cool wrestling announcer for me, you know. There was a lot of other announcers later, but he was always the best one, if you ask me. And remember, Slick Jr., whatever I'm going to call him, you need to be asking me questions too, you know, like who's this and what's that and what's this about and whatever, so I can let you know what's cracking. So y'all got to help us out. You know, we're just starting some new stuff, so we're going to test it out. So the Fink's in here giving all the instructions for the Royal Rumble. And you know what's up with the Rumble, you know. Guys come in every minute and a half, sometimes 2 minutes. Like, it was always different. They used to say like 90s, a minute. Yeah. But, you know, and then you get tossed out. Last guy in, you know, is the winner of the Rumble. And nowadays they have it to where the winner of the Rumble goes against the champion at Mania. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't always like that. Like this one right here, I don't think is like that. This is 1990 still, so this was just whoever was the winner was just the Royal Rumble winner, which is cool. But who's our first guy here? Our first entry.
$9 man.
You know his actual name?
No.
You know.
I forgot.
Ted DiBiase. the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and he had Virgil with him. We actually just lost Virgil. He just passed away a couple months ago. We talked about it on the show. His name was Mike Jones. And this second guy that came in here, this is Coco Beware. Look, he's got like paint on his
Head.
On his head there.
Right by his hair.
Kind of funky looking, huh?
Yeah.
But Coco was tight. He was Owen Hart's partner for a while. And they would come up, they had like these suspenders and like checkered pants and stuff and looked like funky old taxi cabs, but they were tight. They were called High Energy. It was a cool little team. But he looks funky as hell with this paint on his dome, don't he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh!
Okay.
Got him with the chops.
Mm-hmm.
See, Ted DiBiase, he, Vince McMahon Jr., he started like going to all the territories and buying them all out. And
Junior.
Yeah, the one that you know of, he's the junior.
Oh.
His dad, Vince Sr., was the original owner of the WWF. It was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. And Vince actually got it from his dad like in the 80s, right? And then he started all the WrestleManias and stuff, and his dad was mad about it. It was not a good thing at first.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, obviously he proved what he could do. And I can't remember when his dad actually passed away. We have to look that up and check it out. But, so anyway, when he took over from his dad, he started going to all the other territories and like buying them out. Kind of bully, like buying them out. Okay. And his dad was sad about it because his dad wasn't like that. He was a fair man and pretty good guy from what I understand. Anyway, he would go to all the territories and he would get, like their big stars, or he would buy their TV time or whatever. Vince was kind of a ruthless businessman. But Ted DiBiase, he came from Mid-South, and Mid-South was one of the big ones, one of the big territories. Look, you know who this guy is?
No, not really.
So our third entrant, does he look like anybody? You don't recognize nothing about him?
No, not really.
No? So he was somebody's tag team partner, and they were a tag team back in these days. No. I could see you'd say that from the Frillies, but who else do you remember that kind of looked like that back in these days?
Man.
Macho kind of looked like that, but no, that's not him. You give up?
Mm-hmm.
He was Shawn Michaels' tag team partner. That's Marty Jannetty. So Shawn Michaels started off in a tag team called the Rockers. And
no wonder he's like that.
Yeah. And this is his partner right here. And to be honest with you, I was more of a Marty Jannetty guy. I like this guy a lot more. I had his little action figure. Mm-hmm. And I used to, you know how Uncle Skins, how he customizes all of his dudes, and sometimes he paints them or he'll create the clothes or whatever. I used to also kind of put the clothes on him and stuff, and I would have like some old jeans of mine, and I would take like a long strip and I would just like wrap it around his leg and make it look like he was wearing some cool jeans or so. Anyway, I took him and I took this other dude, Rick the Model Martel, who we'll probably see in here in a little bit. But I made them a tag team, and they were like two little gangster dudes. You know what I mean? It was tight. I customized them all cool. But anyway, I was a Marty Jannetty guy. I wasn't really a Shawn Michaels dude. I mean, you know me, I'm a Bret Hart guy. So, kids and people of my generation that are wrestling fans, WWF wrestling fans, mm-hmm. You were either a Bret guy or a Shawn guy. Not a lot of people were both. And I wasn't. I was a Bret guy. I wasn't a Shawn dude at all. But when it came to the Rockers, Marty was my dude. And I thought he would have been the bigger star, Turned out that Shawn turned out to be the way bigger star, and Marty had some problems later in life. He had problems then too, they had a lot of issues, but he was an awesome performer, and I think he could have been bigger than Shawn Michaels. But you know who this guy is?
Yeah.
Who is he? We got one of his things over there in our little shelf of dudes. Jake the Snake Roberts, who also comes from another wrestling family. His dad was Grizzly Smith. He was a booker and he was a wrestler. But
Wait,
he was,
isn't this a Royal Rumble?
yeah.
The $1 Million Man's out then.
No, he went under the ropes.
Oh.
So Grizzly Smith was actually a terrible, terrible guy, a bad person, and Jake does not have a lot of good stories. But yeah, he had a brother and a sister that were wrestlers too, and his dad. And you know, Ted DiBiase, while we were watching, Coco got tossed out, and Marty Jannetty just got tossed out now that Jake came in. But Ted DiBiase also had a dad and a mom that was a wrestler. I think it was his mom and his stepdad, actually. I don't know if his real dad was a wrestler or not. Can't remember. But Jake, man, Jake was a big, big star. Still is. But in these days, he was one of the guys, you know? Pretty freaking cool. I was never much of a big Jake fan, but I always liked him. You know, he's a good guy. He had a lot of problems too, but thanks to DDP, he kind of saved him. Remember I was showing you that DDP yoga stuff and how he saved Razor Ramon and Jake the Snake and a couple other guys who really helped him out a lot. Changed their lives. So big ups to DDP and DDP yoga. For those of you that don't know what's up with that, look into it. We're a yoga family, aren't we? Look who's this. You know
Macho
that guy.
Man.
Huh?
Is this Macho Man?
That's Macho Man, exactly. But I think he was Macho King at this time. I think he had won like the King of the Ring or whatever, and he was Macho King now. Because look at Sherry, she's got a crown, and he's wearing kind of a funky,
like aloha.
Yeah, it's weird how some
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaiian mixed with some shark skin looking stuff.
Where do you see shark skin?
Just that blue, that's what they call it. I heard on something that he was actually colorblind. Yeah, I can't remember who said it. It might have been DDP actually, because he was a big, he was a friend of Macho. They were homeboys. This dude, the $1 Million Man, though, him and Jake the Snake, actually, they were both like two of the tightest wrestlers of all time to like never win a championship, like the heavyweight championship. Never. At least not in WWF or WCW or the NWA, you know. It was. So we'll watch some of those too. We'll watch some more WCW stuff, and I'll school you on some of that, because before it was WCW, it was NWA. And the Crockett's had their own territory, JCP, and they just like the Mid-South, you know what I mean? So there's all kinds of cool stuff. We actually have, from Uncle Skins, he hooked your dad up, and I got some DVDs, and some of them are on some of the territories. Oh, snap. Who's this dude? You should know this guy, too.
Roddy Piper?
Roddy Piper. Look at him, he's crazy, You know, one of your mom's friends actually told me a cool story about Roddy Piper one time, and I wanted so bad to send him an email and tell him about this story, because he was doing a podcast before he died. He was doing a podcast, and I think they had a thing where you could email and send in questions or comments, whatever. And I was gonna email him and tell him about it, but anyway, her mom, I guess, used to hate Roddy Piper, and for whatever reason, your mom's friend's mom, when she was a little girl, I guess her brothers had the wrestling action figures and whatever, and the bigger rubber ones, the old school ones, and I guess she hated him. And for whatever reason, she threw the action figure in the oven one time and like melted it. And I just thought it was so funny, because one of the words, one of the phrases or terms or whatever that they use in wrestling terminology is heat. And if like a good bad guy knows how to get heat, you know what I mean? Like he gets people to hate him, and he gets all the heat. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's about. And it just was so funny to me that
he almost got through that.
Right? That he literally was getting the heat. You know what I mean? Like he was getting his action figure melted and burned by one of the kids' moms. You know, like I just thought that was so funny, and I wanted to tell him that story, and I never did. I never did send it in. So, oh well, you know. Hopefully he can somehow hear the story.
Is this?
Now this dude, I don't know if you know this guy. Do you know who he is?
Is he part of the natural disasters?
No, he's not, but that's a good guess, actually. He's part of a team called the Powers of Pain. Powers of Pain? I think it's the Powers of Pain. It's him. His name is the Warlord. And his partner is a dude named Barbarian. And you've seen Barbarian before. At least I think you have. And they were both just big dudes. And this dude, freaking Warlord, man, like, look at him. He's huge. He's got the size where he could have been like a big opponent for Hulk Hogan, you know? And I don't know if he was or not, but he never like was a big star. And I think he could have been because he had a good look. Right here, he kind of looks, he was in his Powers of Pain time here because him and Barbarian had the face paint like that together, and then the arm things and the haircuts, you know, they had it like matching and shit. But he, when he was a solo dude, the Warlord, he would just wear like the tights, the chones, you know what I mean? And he for whatever reason, he looked bigger like that. When he wears these pants, he doesn't look as big. But he was pretty good, man. And I thought he could have done something bigger, you know, been bigger, but they kind of would just feed everybody to Hogan and let him walk all over everybody, you know what I mean? And that's the WWF back in the day was like a babyface territory. That's what they would call it because it was like their top guy was always a babyface, you know, like a good guy, and he would hold the belt forever. There was Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, like all these dudes for a long time with, you know, Pedro Morales. They were all good guys, and they held the belt forever. So Hogan was next in line. You know who this dude is?
Right.
Yep, it's the Hitman, and he looks like he was hurt. Did you see him like limping to the ring? I wonder what happened earlier in the show. Maybe there was a Heart Foundation match or something, and he got jacked up. But see, Macho's working as a heel, as a bad guy, because he's the Macho King. When he was the Macho King, he was a bad guy.
When he was a Macho Man, he was a good guy.
He was a bad guy as Macho Man for parts of his career in the beginning and later on. But right here, when he was with Sherry, he was always a bad guy. Because Sherry was a heel manager. You know, she was very rarely ever a babyface. In fact, I don't think she was ever a babyface that I know of. But you see her out there? Mm-hmm. Sherry was awesome. She was so tight. She was also Booker T's manager later on in WCW. Him and his brother, Stevie Ray, they were a team called Harlem Heat. You remember that? You remember me showing you that?
No.
Anyway, they called her Sister Sherry. She was tight. But this dude, Warlord, you see his manager out there?
The guy too?
Yeah, the guy in the tuxedo. Mm-hmm. That's Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji's badass too. And he's also like real famous for being a ribber, like playing practical jokes on people, and they would always do crazy stuff. I wish I could remember one right now. I'll try to look some up and remember on a podcast, because I just heard one the other day. I wish I wrote it down or something, but I'll have to and tell you about him. But he was a funny guy. He was a ribber and a prankster, but he had been a wrestler for a long time too. But he was their manager, and then later on, this is 1990, so a couple years later, when Yokozuna started, he was Yokozuna's manager too. Oh look, they're about to toss out $1 Million Man. Jake is. Warlord saved him. Oh snap! So this guy, his name is Bad News Brown, but he actually came from Bret Hart's dad's territory. You know, the Stampede Wrestling up in Canada, in Calgary. He came from their territory, and his name was Bad News Allen over there. And he was kind of a main eventer. He was a big star, but he had like a bad attitude, and he kind of was a problem, I guess, sometimes. And I don't know for sure, but that's just kind of what it seems like to me.
This is cool because the guy that you're talking about right now, Where's his name? Bad News Brown.
Bad News Brown.
He's going against Bret Hart right
Oh,
now.
I know, that's cool because they were like familiar with each other, you know? So he would go in there. You know, I heard, I don't know how true it is either, but I heard that Piper was somehow, I don't know if he's actually related to the Harts, but I know he's like, they accept him as like family, you know what I mean? Roddy Piper. So that's kind of cool. And you know, he had a son that was in MMA for a while, and then the $1 Million Man had 2 sons, I think, that were wrestlers, but one of them was actually on WWE TV, Ted DiBiase Jr., and he was in a group with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. They were called Legacy because they were all sons of wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Randy Orton?
Yeah. Randy's actually a 3rd generation. His dad and his grandpa are wrestlers. Yeah. And Randy's doper than all of them. He's the tightest one of the whole family. I mean, you know, when Randy finally retires, he's going to be like one of the greatest of all time. You know, he's going to be in that conversation. Look who's this. You know this guy.
Oh, that's American Dream.
Yep. That's Dusty Rhodes. That's Cody's dad. We were just talking about it. How funny. But see, when he was in WWF, they made him wear the polka dots. And a lot of people thought that was a rib, you know, like a joke on him. But Dusty was so good, you know, like such a charismatic dude, where, you know, he pulled it off anyway. Throw him in polka dots if you want. He was still going to get everybody to love him. Oh!
There goes Macho Man.
See, him and Macho were having a big feud at the time because you see Sherry out here, her and then this lady down here that came out with the American Dream, her name was Sapphire. And they were all involved in a big old feud. Did you see those referees?
Mm-hmm.
The one that's in the middle, you see him right there? That's actually Shane McMahon. Yep.
I just need a better close up.
Oh, Shane? Oh, yeah, you'll see him here. This referee closest to us right here, his name is Danny Davis. That's Shane back there. And then this other referee on this side, his name was Joey Morella. And that was actually Gorilla Monsoon. I don't know if you know who Gorilla Monsoon is now that I think about it.
I've been talking about it a lot.
I have? So you do know who he is?
No, you just described him. I've never seen him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to show you who he is because he's the freaking tightest, man. Like, he was a good guy. He was a commentator, but he was a wrestler for a long time, too. Anyway, that dude, Joey Morella, was his son, and he died. He got in a car accident. He was young. Like, you can see how young he was. I can't remember when he passed, but it wasn't that long after this. It was kind of in these days, you know, when he passed away. There's Bobby the Brain Heenan. And you know who that dude is with him, right? Andre. Yep, Andre. So, Bobby the Brain Heenan, him and Gorilla Monsoon, they were like the best, to me, I think they were the best commentator duo. You know what I mean? Where it was the bad guy, heel that was always talking stuff, which was Bobby the Brain Heenan, and then Gorilla Monsoon that was like the play-by-play color dude too, that was always, you know, giving the
look at him compared
history
to all
or
the
whatever.
other
I know, he's huge. And that dude's huge. The Warlord's a big freaking dude. And look, he just tosses him. Dang. Uh-oh. Bobby and Fuji. Oh. Bobby was the dopest. Everybody says that Paul Heyman's like the guy, you know, like the best manager of all time or best commentator, best all-around whatever of all time. But before they were talking about Heyman, they would all say the same thing about Bobby Heenan. And it's kind of crazy because Heyman's dope, but I think it's just a different time, you know? I still put Bobby up there with him. And I wouldn't put him above Bobby. I would put Bobby at number 1. A lot of people put Heyman at number 1 now, but I wouldn't. I would still keep Bobby there.
Shane had like a bold cut when he was a referee.
Shane?
From where's the perspective at?
Yeah, kind of does.
Looks like it was a bowl cut. Look, see?
Yep.
You can barely see him, but
Sure does.
looks like he has a bowl cut because of the white rope.
Well, it's 1990, so coming out of the 80s, that was kind of one of the popular haircuts, I guess. 2-1, who's next? So this dude, I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but his name's the Red Rooster. His actual name is Terry Taylor, and when he was in WCW or the NWA or whatever, I think he was a bigger, better star or wrestler, you know, whatever you want to call it. Here, you know, the Red Rooster's kind of a lame gimmick. Yep.
Oh.
Oh!
Wait, does that mean Rowdy's out?
So
he got out?
So you see, the Rumble's weird like that because it shouldn't be, right? Because the guy was already out.
Yeah.
But
they're both out?
They're both out. And this actually culminated at a WrestleMania match. Or was it WrestleMania or was it SummerSlam? Maybe it was SummerSlam. But Rowdy Roddy Piper came out.
Is it Shane right here?
He was painted in half black.
Is this Shane right here?
Yeah, on the left. But nowadays they kind of talk stuff about that whole angle because Piper came out and like literally half of his body was painted black. Like, have you ever seen that blackface? And it's kind of whack where they had these older, like black entertainers, and they would make them paint their face, and it was just like a real terrible way of treating black entertainers in the very beginning. And then like white people would have their own versions of it too, you know what I mean, and have their faces painted. And it was called in blackface. That's what they called it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of what that was a little bit, you know, where Piper literally painted half of his body black. And it was, you know how like we talk about how times are always changing and how some things were more acceptable back then or whatever. I'm not saying that was the case where it was more acceptable, but it just wasn't as made as a huge of a deal as it is anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of racist, but it wasn't seen as being like this blatantly racist thing necessarily. You know what I mean? It was more for entertainment purposes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Look, who's this guy?
This is one of the Demolition dudes. He just came in. This is actually Demolition Axe. He was the older of the Demolition guys, and it's funny because him and Andre, they were actually a team at one point, and he was one of the first guys to ever slam Andre. Now that I think about it, legit slam Andre, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, that dude's a really, really strong dude. His name was Bill Eadie, but he wore a mask for a while and was the Super Destroyer or Super Machine or something like that. And Andre was his partner for a little bit, and they had Andre under a mask, as if you didn't know who it was. You know what I mean? Ted DiBiase's been in there for a while. Wasn't he the first one in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. See, look at Dusty. See how tight he is? See how he does his cool little dance?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's always, like, full of
energy
and, like, that charisma, man. Freaking Andre's huge.
His face is big.
Right?
It's almost bigger than this TV, probably. No, it'd probably be big with those things down there.
Yep.
Just imagine that thing headbutting you. Whew.
Like getting hit by a buffalo. So, I was kind of talking about it earlier, how the Rumble was always kind of different, where it wasn't necessarily always a minute in between. Mm-hmm. And like, say, even in the same Rumble, oh look, this is Haku. You know the bloodline now? Mm-hmm. How it has these couple new guys in the bloodline and they're bad guys? Those are his sons. One of them is I think his adopted son, and the other one is his actual son. But something like that. But they're actually his kids. And he's known as being the baddest tough guy of all when it comes to like wrestling history. Like whenever people ask people like who you don't want to mess with or whatever, he's the first name that always comes up. Haku.
Why?
Because he was just badass. Like, he just wasn't afraid of nothing and wouldn't lose a fight. You know, like, he's no joke.
Was he one of those people where like Well, not like Hulk Hogan where they're like a babyface person, but they would win always.
No, not necessarily. They actually would have him kind of lose a lot. I don't know why. WWF was kind of like that, man, and they still kind of are to a certain degree, to where the minorities aren't necessarily the top guys. You know what I mean? So him being Polynesian, like an islander, you know what I mean? He was like more of an attraction kind of guy, and they would let him win. You know, they would let him win every now and then or whatever, but he was never one of their big stars.
Mm-hmm.
But he was badass, and he was King Haku for a while, and he would come out in the crown and the cape and the whole thing. But he was never like a good talker or anything like that. He always kind of needed a manager. But in real life, they say he was like a sweetheart of a guy, you know, like a real
like nice guy.
Real nice guy.
I wonder have Cody and The Rock have fight yet?
No, not yet. Remember they kind of did something right before Mania and stuff, but then
I think Cody
up.
should use some of Dusty's moves.
He does. So this is the other. There were 3 demolition dudes all together, but not all at the same time. For a long time, it was just these 2, and they were the only 2, and it was Axe and Smash. And Smash, he actually played like 3 other characters too in wrestling.
Yeah.
He was the Repo Man.
Like Mankind.
No,
were
multiple
like
characters. Yeah. He was this cool Russian character called Crusher Khrushchev, and he was like freaking big, man. He's one of the dudes from Minnesota. There's a whole crew of dudes that all went to the same high school in Minnesota. It was Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, this guy's name. What is Smash's name? What's his real name? It'll come to me. Barry Darso. And there's like a couple other ones. I think Nikita Koloff is one of them too. There's a few of them that all came from this Robbinsdale, Minnesota high school or whatever. And they all turned out to be badass pro wrestlers and like tough guys, legit tough guys. They all worked as like bouncers at some kind of bar or strip club or something too, and that's kind of where a lot of them got discovered, you know. But what was I saying though about? You said something about Cody should use Dusty's moves, and I was saying that he already does. But before that, I was trying to tell you something else. Was it about Haku still?
Yeah, about how he is like a nice guy.
Yeah, but I thought there was
no. But before you were talking about Smash.
Oh, the different characters, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think that was it, though. There was another one
too.
called the Blacktop Bully. He was one, and that was with. I remember him having a little feud where he was Stone Cold's, like a fan of Stone Cold's before he was Stone Cold, when he was stunning Steve Austin in WCW. But I don't remember what happened there. Now this guy, he's had another gimmick too before this, and it was the One Man Gang. But right here, his name is Akeem. Akeem, the African Dream. And that was kind of a rib on Dusty Rhodes. See, Dusty Rhodes, he was always like one of the big stars or one of the main guys in the other company. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, this is the only time Dusty ever wrestled for Vince, for WWF. You know, Dusty was always like a boss at the other company. Not like the main guy, but like a boss of like the show. Like the guy that was the booker who would write the shows and, you know, come up with the...
Because you said that he's like a great booker.
A great booker. He's known for being an awesome one, you know? Oh, Andre's out.
Dang.
So,
who took him out?
I didn't see it. I think Dusty has something to do with it. Could have been the Demolition dudes. I didn't notice. But, damn.
Yeah, it probably was.
Cheater. Freaking cheatskates. I lost my train of thought again.
About Dusty being a booker. And the other being like...
So Vince always kind of like, I think he always hated on Dusty, to be honest with you. I think that's why they put him in polka dots. I think that's why everybody else, like the female managers, were like this, you know, good-looking chick or whatever. He had, you know, the little chubby black lady out there. You know what I mean? And she was a regular person, but, you know, she wasn't like this amazing supermodel or, you know, whatever. kind of thing. And like Dusty, even the the $1 Million Man's bodyguard outside, his name is Virgil, and he's like his servant to the $1 Million Man. Well, Dusty Rhodes' real name is Virgil, and that's why they gave him that name, apparently. You know what I mean? And like they used to just
mean.
Yeah, they used to just mess with Dusty all the time. So I think Akeem, the big guy that came out, the big guy in blue, his character is a big fat guy that talks like a brother and does the jiving and dancing and all that kind of stuff, just like Dusty Rhodes. And instead of the American Dream, they called him the African Dream. You know what I mean? So, like, he's another one. This dude that just came in right here, I think you know who that is too. Well, that's the Superfly, Jimmy Snuka. His daughter wrestled. She's Tamina. I don't know if you remember Tamina, but she's in there now at W's. But Superfly, he was a big star for a long time. See, that's why he took him out. People loved Jimmy. He was never a champion either, but
He has huge arms.
yeah, he was always stacked. But he was kind of a crappy person too, from what I understand. In fact, I think I don't know if he got convicted or not, but he murdered like his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, something really bad happened, and he got away with it. Like he never even got in trouble or anything for a long time. It wasn't until like in the past 5 years, something like that. But I think he passed away. I can't remember if we lost Jimmy or not. But the Superfly, people love the Superfly. He was big star. You'll see him as we watch more of these. You'll see how he was in these days. You know, he was a big star. In the later 90s or mid 90s, you didn't see too much of him. Then he would come back every long once in a while, and towards the end, he just kind of looked crazy. Like he had that crazy old man look in his eye. Here we are. I wonder how many dudes are left. I wonder what number this is. This is before the days when they would put the, number whoever in. So do you recognize the manager dude at least?
Yeah.
Who's it?
Undertaker's. No.
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 No. He was never with Undertaker. He was with Hulk Hogan.
No.
He's the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. So he was always a cool manager. But this guy he came out with is Dino Bravo. And he was known as Canada's strongest man, or even the world's strongest man, I think, for a little bit. But Dino Bravo's got a sad story too. He was actually killed by the mafia. They murdered him like bad, like crazy, assassinated, like shot him in the head like 10 times, kind of thing. It was it was terrible. All because he, I think the story I read is that he was involved in like some kind of scheme where they were moving like cigarettes, like moving cigarettes illegally or whatever, and he was making money off of that. And I guess he got a little too greedy, and they just made an example of him, The mafia was no joke, especially in those days, you know what I mean? You crossed them, they took you out. And they didn't just hurt you, they hurt your whole freaking family, you know what I mean? So who's cracking now still? We still got both of the demolition dudes. We still got the $1 Million Man. He was the first dude in. Dino's just in. We got Dusty still. What happened to Brett? Did Brett get tossed out?
I think so.
Oh, we lost Brett and I didn't even see it. We got Haku up there. And that's it. I think that's all we got so far. I wonder who else is coming in. Who have we not seen? We haven't seen Hulk. We haven't seen Warrior. We haven't seen... we saw Macho. Macho's gone. Oh, who's this?
I don't recognize him.
You don't? So remember you were asking earlier about the natural disasters?
Mm-hmm.
This is Earthquake.
Oh, this is Earthquake?
Yeah. He actually looks smaller right here than he got a little bit later. And he was young. He was only in his 20s right here. He looked like an older guy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
His name was John Tenta, but right here he's the Canadian Earthquake. See how he's got that Canada thing on his chest?
Yeah, like Canada flag?
The Canadian flag, yeah. He was actually partners with that Dino Bravo dude in there at this time. But Earthquake, man, he was around for a long time. He was here as the Canadian Earthquake, and this is kind of towards the beginning of his WWE career, and then he
Then there's Earthquake.
and he hooked up with Typhoon, and they were the Natural Disasters.
I thought it was Hurricane.
No, it was Typhoon. His name was Tugboat too for a little bit, and then it was Typhoon.
Was
Oh, he
it-
just tossed out Axe. We lost Axe. And then after Typhoon, or I'm sorry, after the Natural Disasters, he ended up leaving and he went to WCW, right? And in WCW, he was Shark Tooth, and I think he had another name, Avalanche maybe, something like that. And at that time, it was, you know, the world was changing and wrestling was changing and getting more crazy and stuff. And he ended up coming back to the WWF later, and he wore a mask. He was wearing a mask, and he would come out wearing a Cartman doll, or holding a Cartman doll, you know, from South Park. And his name was Golga, and he was part of a team called the Oddities, a group called the Oddities, and they were just all crazy. They had the Insane Clown Posse as some of their guys. I don't know if you know who ICP is, but they had some of those guys, and they were a trip. Oh, Jim the Anvil. This is Natty's dad, Natalia's dad. So Jim the Anvil was tight. He was obviously Brett's partner right here, you know, dressed the same, the Heart Foundation. Do you know anything about him? Other than all that I just said right there?
Except that, like, didn't they have a match against each other?
Him and Brett?
Hmm.
I don't know if him and Brett ever actually had a match. Excuse me. But there was a time when Owen and Brett were feuding, and Jim the Anvil sided with Owen over Brett. But it was all, you know, it was all part of the show. It was all in the storyline. In real life, they were all tight. You know, all the family was real tight. All the Hearts. For the most part, you know, every family's got their ups and downs. But dang, there goes Earthquake.
Yeah. Wait.
He's a big dude, man.
Since that wasn't the manager with the other guy?
Which one?
The
Dino?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was both of their managers. Remember I told you they were a team? They were a team?
Because he kind of walked the Canadian Earthquake out.
Yeah, he kind of walked out with them too. He went back and got him.
Hmm.
Or something. The Anvil actually played football. I think he played for the Raiders, actually. Can't remember. But he got his name, the Anvil, from a competition that was an anvil toss. And you know what an anvil is? Have you ever seen an anvil? You know what an anvil is?
Those things are heavy.
Right? And he tossed it. Like, that's how freaking strong this dude was. And he won the anvil toss. Oh! Warrior. Now, you know, we're big Warrior fans, but like a lot of people historically kind of hate on the Warrior. You know, because
Did he go on steroids?
Well, a lot of these guys were kind of on the juice. You know, like even this guy right here, Dino Bravo. Like, he was a big muscular dude, but it wasn't all natural. You know what I mean? Not always.
Oh, there he goes.
Yep. But Warrior, though, like, he was known for being kind of hard to work with. He was always kind of known to be stiff. He only had a few moves, so he wasn't like this amazing wrestler. You know what I mean? He was just more this powerhouse and this real high energy, real quick, high spots, you know, big booms, and then it was done, you know? Which is okay, which is perfect for the time. You know, that was great. That was all you needed right there in 1990, you know? But later on, like, he tried to do the same thing, like 96, 98, you know, he came back like
the late 90s.
Later on, yeah, and it just wasn't working anymore. And then, like, he had already gotten fired a few times, and he was just kind of a lot to deal with. He was hard for people to deal with. And they did a whole DVD talking stuff about him.
Dang.
It was called The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, and they just shit all over him, the whole DVD. So many people. And then he finally came back, and him and Vince, you know, they rekindled their relationship or whatever, you know. They let bygones be bygones, and they put him in the Hall of Fame, and then everybody loved him, and it was all warriored out. But I was like, you lying sons of, you know, over here dogging him out, and then you're gonna be on his nuts
because
later.
you know how Vince kind of like wrestles a little bit.
He did, yeah.
What if Ultimate Warrior versus Vince? That would be cool.
That would have been cool back then.
Wouldn't or would?
It would have, like back then. Remember I told you Marty Jannetty and I would put him with another dude. They were figures and they would be a team.
Is that him?
This is the other guy. This is Rick the Model Martel. Right here, man. He had longer hair. Later on, he had a feud with like Shawn Michaels and Tatanka and stuff, and his hair wasn't as long. It was actually just like slick back, and that was the figure I had, that wrestling action figure.
Just had like that.
Just like slick back hair. Wasn't like this all poofy. But this dude, man, Rick Martel was actually an excellent wrestler, man. He was so good. And, you know, he wasn't bad on the mic either. I think he was a better heel than he was a baby face. But he was a good dude, man. And he, the AWA was the territory where Hulk Hogan came from, and Bobby the Brain Heenan, and like Jesse the Body Ventura. A lot of those kind of guys all came from AWA. And that was Vern Gagne's territory, and he was their very last champion, I think, or I don't remember if he was their last champion.
Ooh,
but
there goes Axe. No, was that
Smash? Smash was the other one. I can't remember if he was the last one or not, but he was an AWA champion, and that was a pretty big deal, you know. He got the Intercontinental Championship, I think, in WWF. I think he was an IC champ, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. And every year, I always say, I reach out to, for those of you that are also fans of the pro wrestling compadres or the pro wrestling Palskis, I reach out to them every year about their Hall of Fame. And I'm always asking about him specifically because I think he deserves it. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, and he's not in there yet. So who's next? Who's next? We still haven't seen Hogan. Who's this? Tito. So check it out. Tito Santana was in a tag team with Rick Martel. That's why I go straight after him. That's why they're going against each other right now. And Rick Martel kind of double-crossed him. Kind of like somebody double-crosses me on our show title here. But yeah, that was his old partner. That's why they're going at it right there. They were a team called Strike Force. And that was the only time I remember Rick Martel being a good guy, at least in WWF, was when he was with Tito. He went to WCW later on, like at the end of his career, and did a couple matches. I think he got hurt, and he only did a couple matches. He was a good guy, but that was all I remember. I remember very specifically eating chicken, dipping it in hot sauce, and watching it with my dad. So that's tight.
I was eating chicken upstairs and dipping it in hot sauce.
I know. We're going to have to, like, on one of these shows, one of these other watch-alongs, we'll have to do, like, some wangs or something, you know what I mean? And do it up tight. Right? Go to Woody's. Big shout-out to our people at Woody's. Dang, $1 Million Man is still in there.
Look at the lights.
Oh, how it's leaving the trails on the camera? Yep. That's how everything was before all the high def and high tech stuff. You know, I like all this old kind of stuff though. You know, when I first got into wrestling, I was watching stuff with my dad, and we would go to Blockbuster and just rent tapes, rent videos, and watch all these grainy, you know.
That's how Redbox is these days.
Yeah, but Redbox is not even close to as tight as what freaking Blockbuster was. Because it wasn't like now we got Netflix and Hulu and all this crap, you know, we could just go on anything and find any movie anywhere at any time. It wasn't like that back then. You got lucky if you found the movie. Oh, yeah, I've been looking for this movie forever, you know what I mean? And you took it home and watched it, and then you had to take it back. It wasn't like you could just
like click a button.
So this is the Honky Tonk Man. He was the one that had the Intercontinental Championship the longest before Gunther. Gunther just broke his record. But he's actually Jerry the King Lawler's cousin.
Who, Gunther?
No, this guy, the Honky Tonk Man. He was like an Elvis impersonator, you know?
I could kind of see it.
Yeah. And there was a WrestleMania 6 in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
He came out in a pink Cadillac or something, and it was DDP that was driving, and it was his Cadillac. It was DDP's car, actually. And it was years before DDP was ever even a wrestler or anything.
That's cool.
It's kind of cool, huh?
Like they give him basically like a trailer before, because you know how trailers come before a movie comes
Before
out.
the show, before the actual thing?
Yeah.
Yep. He gave him a little preview, huh? Gave him a little taste of what life could be like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny that DDP was in a WrestleMania before any of them, you know what I mean? Any of the other WCW guys like that. So Warrior is like the main star in here right now. Superfly's been in there for a while. He's another main star.
Doorman's not in there anymore.
He's not?
Uh-uh.
They threw him out?
Mm-hmm.
No. Who threw him out?
I don't know.
And when did we miss that?
I don't know. I don't see him. All I see is.
I don't see him either. I think you're right. Dang. I don't know how we missed that. There he is, Hogan. So he's probably the last one then. Hogan's probably number 30 because they always kind of save him for the very end.
Well, he's getting his butt. Well, he's getting his butt beat right now by Superfly.
Are you sure?
Well, not anymore, but he was.
It's weird that Superfly is the one that was working on him because he was a good guy in this time. At least I thought he was. Oh. See, Hogan's a big dude. He's like 6'7", 6'8", something like
Not
that.
bigger than Andre the Giant.
Nah, definitely not bigger than Andre. Andre was actually partners with Haku out there, and they were called the Colossal Connection or something like that. Tito and Rick the Model are still going at it. I didn't see Rick Rude in this one. He must not have been with the company here. Either that or he was on a different match. Oh, there goes Tito. Damn. Tito, I thought was going to be like the first Mexican champion. You know what I mean? But he wasn't. In fact, I think they let Tito have the IC. But that's it. But he had a gimmick later on that was the El Matador. He would come out like a bullfighter. And he had a cool song too. I used to like that song. Slurps. So I think these are the final four right here. You got Warrior taking on Rick the Model, and then you got Hogan and Honky. Oh no, there is still somebody else. Who do you think is left? 1990. Who's in? Oh, it's Sid. I'll bet you it's Sid. Oh no. Who's that?
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. What's he doing there? Forgot all about him. Well, there goes Honky.
Now it's the last four.
Maybe. I don't know. We could be wrong too. Might not be Shawn. Well, there goes Shawn.
Oh, got in. Got
Oh.
it. Then goes the.
And there goes Rick the Model.
Now it's
just Warrior and Hogan.
maybe not.
And see, they were both the two biggest stars in the company. And they had never wrestled each other or anything. They didn't do good guy against good guy. You know what I mean? They never did that kind of stuff. So this was the first time you got to see something like this.
Wait, good guy versus good guy?
Yeah, and I can imagine. I was like 3 years old when this happened. But if I was like, a little bit older, I'd be like, oh my God, like, look at this. What's going to happen? And see, they were both kind of very similar where they didn't have like these crazy move sets. They both kind of had the same lame few moves, you know what I mean? Big power moves. And it was all mainly about the showmanship. Hogan was always posing and whatever. Warrior's always posing.
DoubleCross on.
Damn, I wonder if they're the last two.
Looks like it.
Warrior always had tight gear though, I thought. They would all have paint. Him and Sting both, man. By the end of their matches, they would only have paint around their eyeballs, and that's about it. Oh, there's still somebody else.
What?
Dang. Who's next? Oh, Barbarian. Remember we talked about the Warlord?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's Barbarian. This is his partner.
He's like, oh, hello.
I guess I'll just elbow drop you here. And you too. So he was actually part of the Samoan dudes, kind of. I don't think he's necessarily from Samoa. But him and Haku were kind of like part of that whole Polynesian clan. You know what I mean? Like of the bloodline. Like he would be considered part of it too, I think, right here. His real name was Sione, I think. And he was he was with Haku for a long time, and they were called the Faces of Fear in WCW. What?
Who's this?
That's Rick Rude. That's Ravishing Rick Rude. Look, he just ran in there way before his time didn't even go down. He jumped the gun, and him and the Warrior were having like a big old feud at the time because he tried to say he had the best body in wrestling, and Warrior came out with his freaking gigantic self and was like, oh yeah, you know.
He's like, challenge Victor in the Royal Rumble.
But I mean, look at Rick Rude though, man. That dude had like no body fat. He was ridiculous, and his arms are stupid. And he was like a arm wrestling champion or something. Like he was legit, like freaking stupid strong.
Okay.
And I think the Warrior probably had his best matches in his whole career with Rick Rude. Because Warrior was not a good wrestler, you know. And Rick Rude's another one where he was like one of the best wrestlers to never win the championship. He never won it here, at least. He won a championship in WCW, but I don't think it was their main one. I think it was one that was like the main one, but not the main one, you know? Because they would always go through these changes and have all these other different belts and stuff.
Well, I have like 2 minutes left of this.
Maybe.
Because remember, it's only like 58 seconds.
58 minutes?
Yeah. 58.
You're right. So this might be the final four right here then.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Who do you think's gonna win?
I have a feeling that it might be the Barbarian.
Because I think I know exactly who it is. Look. There goes Warrior. And did you see how it happened?
No.
Hogan kind of did it. You didn't see that?
No. Well, he still win.
Well,
Cheats.
silly.
But
So who do you think's gonna win?
Barbarian.
You still think that?
Mm-hmm.
What? There's still another person?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Who's this? Ah, Hercules. The mighty Hercules. Hercules Hernandez. He was part of the Bobby Heenan family, which actually Rick Rude was too for a while, which is kind of strange. But Hercules was a big, strong dude too. Yeah, well, must be a lot more dudes than we thought. We haven't been keeping count. There's only 30 dudes.
Mm-hmm. Or it's just taking a really long time.
But I was gonna say, like in the beginning, not the beginning, but in these early WWF days like this, from like 83 to like 93, pretty much, it's all about Hogan. All about Hogan. Everything. He won everything. He was a champ. He was in the biggest feuds. Like it was all about Hogan. You know what I mean? And when it wasn't about Hogan, it was about to be about Hogan soon. You know what I mean? Like when it was about Macho Man, it turned to Hogan very shortly. You know what I mean? Or whoever. And then when it was Bret's turn, Hogan didn't want to pass it to Bret. You know, and he was kind of whack.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and did the NWO thing in WCW.
Even though Hulk Hogan has a major bald spot on his head. Maybe.
He, like always has. He's kind of always had this little skullet, you know.
He looks like a grandpa that overgrew his hair. But he still made sure to keep that bald spot shining.
Yep, and tanned.
Mm-hmm. Another
Dang,
dude.
there's still more. Think he's a good guy or a bad guy?
I don't know.
Hey,
Anyone?
Mr. Perfect. So in real life, him and Rick Rude were like best friends. Remember I told you all those guys that went to that high school? Remember the guy Smash from Demolition?
Mm-hmm.
Well, these two guys did too, Mr. Perfect and Rick Rude. All in that same high school in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. So Mr. Perfect, man, look at him. He's in great shape. He could have been champion these days too, man, but they never gave it to him. He ended up getting hurt later.
Oh.
He had back problems, and then he also was having knee problems, maybe? Something like that. His son was a wrestler in W's for a while, too. His name was Curtis Axel. And he looked a lot like his dad, and he was a pretty good wrestler, but, you know, he just wasn't his dad. And
There goes...
He was actually Bo Dallas's partner. You know Bo Dallas, the one that's Uncle Howdy now?
Mm-hmm.
Bray Wyatt's actual brother?
Mm-hmm.
They were a tag team for a while. Him and Curtis Axel, the one that's Mr. Perfect's son. They were called the B-List.
That Mr. Howdy update was cool.
You know, Uncle Skins called me earlier today, and we've been talking about it.
About the Uncle Howdy?
Yeah, we're talking a lot about it, so we're anxious to see what happens. Talking about all the other people involved and how it's like the whole Wyatt Six. It's the whole group of them. Pretty dope.
They should bring the sheep mask back.
Well, that dude's one of them. The one that was in it, the white one.
Yeah.
He's one of them. He's the one that's the rabbit.
He's the rabbit?
Rambling rabbit, yeah. He's a rabbit, and he has a big old hammer with him.
Yeah.
And the hammer is like the same kind of hammer that he had when he was with Luke Harper before, when they were the Bludgeon Brothers.
Mm.
I thought you had a Bludgeon Brothers action figure, but maybe not. So it came down to Mr. Perfect and Hulk Hogan. They're the last two.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Well, I already told you, it's all about Hogan. They never miss an opportunity to let Hogan win something. You know what I mean?
But not because he's an old Gramps. That's another reason.
No, it's just that he was just the man. He's the one that sold all the tickets. If you were on a show and Hulk Hogan was on it, you knew you were going to sell it out and you were going to get good money. You know, you always wanted to be on the show with Hogan. And they, like, you know how I listen to all these other podcasts and stuff? Bruce Pritchard always has this thing that he says when Hogan was in a match or whatever, like, they always had to end the show the same way. Hogan must pose. Like he always must pose at the end. Pose and look. That was Mr. Perfect's move right there. It was called the Perfect Plex, and it was a fisherman suplex. It was badass. And nobody ever kicked out of it. Nobody ever got out of it. None of that shit. And you see how quickly he did?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's a Superman or something. That's whack. Everybody says that Dolph Ziggler is like the second coming of Kurt Hennig because he wrestles just like him. He sells just like him. See how he sells?
Mm-hmm.
Such a good worker.
Ooh, yep.
And that's that. Here's our 1990 Royal Rumble winner. Hogan must pose. It's cool though. Especially, you know, for at the time, like I said, there was no bigger star in all of wrestling than Hulk Hogan. See that? Like the crowd, they loved him. I was never a Hogan guy. So, you know, I'm like, eh. But look, man, the crowd loved him.
And he kind of loved the crowd.
Yep. So what'd you think, Junior?
That was cool. for my first episode.
Your first little watch-along episode?
And my first video-ish.
Yep. What do you think? You got any questions about this one?
No.
You should start doing that. You should start thinking of a few things that you want to ask me at the end of it or whatever that I could clean up for you. Or something. We could add some cool little segments here and there. Like, who was your favorite dude that you had never seen before?
Well, not really a favorite dude, but a good dude was kind of like Does it count like as a different character of them?
Yeah.
I think the Texas earthquake. I mean, not the Texas.
The Canadian earthquake. Yep, he looked a lot skinnier here than he was in previous things. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool. I got to show you the Barbarian and Warlord as a team, as the Powers of Pain, because that was cool of them.
And Smash and Axe.
Oh yeah, and Demolition. Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you got to see that. This was a good one. This was a good Rumble. No Owen Hart, no none of those dudes yet. You probably see them in the next one. So we'll
I'm just gonna go on from here?
No, we'll still do it randomly. You know, we'll pick it like that.
We'll write them down.
Yep. And any of you guys out there that have other suggestions of like other watch-alongs as far as matches go or a whole event, we may not be able to do a whole event with something like this. You know, our time constraints might stop some of that, but we'll do the best we can. We could definitely watch matches or whatever, you know, and want us to check it out. Little father and son critique. That'd be cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out of a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate this one?
Probably like a 8.
You rated an 8?
Yeah,
that's pretty high up there.
It's not too bad, but not too good.
Not too bad, but not too good. That's pretty good. 8's pretty good. I think I would give it probably... I think I'd probably give it like a 7.
I was about to say, I think you would say like a 6 or 7.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not one of the best either, you know. Mm-hmm. But it definitely had some good guys that we all like and some cool stuff in it. So, with that, everybody, thank you for watching. This has been our very first episode of Slick's DoubleCross. And we're going to have many more to come. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it.
Definitely.
Hope you're ready to learn some more, because I got all kinds of crap up here that I just want to, you know. So, anyway, thank y'all for peeping. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one.
Deuces.